Terence Crawford signing with Golden Boy. Oscar De La Hoya says he has a schedule of fights to get him to the Errol Spence Jr. undisputed fight. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, so I was going through some articles this morning trying to find a good topic for my next video, and I ran across an article of Oscar De La Hoya speaking about Terence Crawford and his future plans. Now, I've been saying for a while now that the landscape of the welterweight division is going to be based off Errol Spence's next decision after the Thurman fight and Terence Crawford's decision of whether he stays or goes from 147. Now, this is very interesting because we've heard Oscar De La Hoya in the past say that Terence Crawford is unsellable. We've heard the DAZN president, Eddie Hearn, say that Terence Crawford's unsellable. We've heard a lot of promoters, pretty much all the promoters when Terence Crawford first left Top Rank said that he was unsellable. Now, after the whole David Avanesyan fight and the proof in the pudding being shown that he can't sell a fight as far as pay-per-view goes, but he can pack an arena. I don't know if that's what's changing Oscar De La Hoya's tune, or is there something else that Terence Crawford is bringing to the table that is making Oscar De La Hoya want to sign him now. Me personally, I think it's a combination of both. I think Terence Crawford is he's got a market that we can't, nobody as a boxing analyst or fan can say that there's no market for Terence Crawford. There is a market for Crawford. The problem with Crawford is he doesn't put on the best fights. So when he goes to sell himself as a fighter, nobody wants to tune in because the competition level is so low and we already know who's going to win. Why would you pay from $40 to $100 to watch something and you already know how it's going to turn out? Now, I know, some boxing fans will say, well, that was the allure of Mike Tyson. You already knew Mike Tyson was going to win 90% of his fights, and his fights were like $70 a piece, but you still brought him knowing that Tyson will most likely knock his opponent out within the first 1 to 3 rounds. And, there was still an allure about that. And I would have to say, it's a different time now. Back in those days, I think a lot of people were unaware of Tyson's opponents. Now, you could have a build-up. They were great at building up fights back then. You might not even known who Tyson's opponent was, but because Don King was such a showman and a salesman that he could take a complete nobody and have you convinced that he had a chance of beating Mike Tyson. Now, that was before the internet. With the emergence of the internet, now you can just go look into these people's past. You couldn't do that back then without putting in a whole lot of work to, figure out who some of these opponents were back then. You had to go find articles and books and actually read those things to find information. You couldn't just click on a video and in 30 seconds have somebody's whole fight profile broke down. Back then it was very difficult to go about those things. So I would say back then it was easier to sell you a fight even if you didn't know who the opponent was. As long as there was one superstar, it was easier to sell a fight and people would believe it. And, it's a totally different day now. It's a totally different time now. You can't hide, you can't hide and you can't pad and you can't cherry pick now. I don't even think Floyd Mayweather would have survived in these times of boxing. I don't think as a fighter, Mayweather could have sold that same persona to fans in this same day. In 2023, if Mayweather was starting his career, let's just say he's at where a Jerome Boots Ennis is at in his career at this point, I don't think Mayweather would have survived to 50-0. I don't think he would have made it in these days and times because he couldn't have bluffed you into buying his fights now. It was a lot of bluffing going on back then, and there was a lot of goating in. And, you had to be a serious salesman because there was no internet. Now with the internet, once again, You can just go check somebody's record, and you know, you can watch them train, and you can formulate your own opinions now, to where you had to go off someone else's opinion 10 to 15 years ago. So I think that might be one of the reasons that Oscar De La Hoya, you know, is interested in Terence Crawford, is the fact that, once again, there's a small market, but, you know, a decent market for Terence Crawford. As long as you keep him close to Omaha, then he's going to sell tickets. He might not sell a lot of pay-per-views, but he's going to sell tickets, and you can still make money selling tickets. Now, when it comes to Oscar De La Hoya saying that, this was something interesting that he said. It made me laugh, really. He said that we have a lineup or a schedule of fights that we can put Terence Crawford in to get him to the Errol Spence Jr. situation, or the Errol Spence Jr. undisputed fight. And I had to laugh because I'm like, how long are y'all thinking that Errol Spence Jr. is going to stick around 147 pounds? He's already told everybody what his weakness is. It's making weight. And I don't assume that Errol Spence is trying to stick around for more than one more fight at 147. So what schedule of fights are you going to put on in the next 6 months? I mean, you're going to fight Terence Crawford every 2 weeks for the next 6 months until he gets an Errol Spence situation? I mean, him saying that made absolutely no sense to me, to be honest with you. There is no schedule of fights that he can put on to get Terence Crawford to an Errol Spence Jr. fight, unless he's speaking about 154 pounds. If he's talking about 154 pounds, I could consider that a possibility. You know, that he could have a couple of fights he can put Terence Crawford in, and then he could potentially get him a fight with Spence at 154 pounds. If you're talking about 147, there's really nothing no promoter at this point can do for Terence Crawford outside of PBC boxing when it comes to getting him that Errol Spence Jr. fight. It's either Terence Crawford is just going to agree to all Spence's terms and accept it for what it is, or Errol Spence is just going to just give him the fight because he wants out of the division. There is no other option that gets Terence Crawford to an Errol Spence Jr. fight by some magical schedule that Oscar De La Hoya can put together. Honestly, I don't think Errol Spence goes into 2024 as a welterweight. I don't see it happening. I think his last welterweight fight is going to be at the end of 2023, and you're never going to see Errol Spence as a welterweight again. Now, I'm almost 100% sold that Errol Spence versus Crawford is going to happen at 147, and it's going to happen at the end of 2023. Now, will Errol Spence continue to campaign there? You know, that can be argued by whoever wants to argue it. I just don't see it happening. But y'all can let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If y'all want extended versions of these videos or longer versions, let me know down in the comment section. If you want to collabo, hit my Gmail, flockofcards@gmail.com. And we are 9
Look, 1 blunt, 2 blunts, 3 blunts, 4 blunts, 9 behind a bitch. Nigga, 1 bird, 1/5, I'm nerd. Yo, chick, now I'm man your bitch. And I must admit, she looking real thick in that fit. Soon as you leave, I walk up, gripping her hips, have her flipping the script, convince her to strip. You at home shooting free throws, flicking your wrist, but hold up, don't let me get ahead of myself. If you really wanna better your health, getting out of my area helps. What these young niggas carry, you melt your whole clique. She swallowed the whole dick, oh shit. Now let me slow down, cause I'm off the heavy road now. They didn't know, I bet they know now. I rep the hometown, Lewis Keys, nigga, let's go. Let's go, my West End niggas, let's go. My East End niggas, let's go. Louisville, let's go. Nigga, let's go. Let's go, nigga, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, yo. Yo, it's sorta like NASCAR. How these niggas take wheels off of fast cars, we not right. About to shine like dandruff and neon lights. Know you feel the shit that we on, right? I got your bitch and she's on pipe, taking pictures of herself. And if you're really slanging, you're snitching on yourself, jerk. So look at it that way. Why I'm looking at your rat from the back way. Then I'm looking for a black in the ashtray.